Hi, I'm Sally and welcome back to the Godel pod. I'm here with Craig from the Idol, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, Sally. Yeah, Craig Morrison, Strategic Partnership Director at the Idol. We are a fintech financial services business based up in Penrith in the northwest. Been around for 25 years this year. Wholly owned by Legal & General. They bought us and acquired us in 2016. And over the last few years have grown massively. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Great, thanks for coming on. And you've been working with Godel for around 3 years now. I think it was August 2021 when we started the partnership.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a strange time to start a partnership in the middle of COVID, lockdown. How did you find that kind of transition into working with a partner? I believe it was the first time you'd worked with a partner.
Absolutely, yeah. So when we started our relationship with you guys, COVID had just hit. We had about 50 employees, and our normal targeting ground, I guess, for recruitment was very much in the northwest. So as a business and organisation, we were, I guess, in a lucky position to look at people local to Penrith and the northwest, Carlisle, etc. When COVID came, whole working patterns changed. Great news for us, but equally loads of barriers. Getting developers became really tricky in the UK. Finding local talent became quite tricky because you could suddenly be working in Penrith but work for a company in London. So we found the job market quite difficult at that time. Through some relationships that we had, that you also had, we knew of the Godel brand and the Godel relationship, and we reached out to you at the time and started talking about what you could offer us, how we could work in partnership, I guess. So in terms of the 3.5 years, it seems to have gone by in a blur, but we've been really impressed and excited by the relationship.
Great.
Which I'm sure we'll get into in a minute.
And when you were looking for a partner, was there anything in particular that you were looking for in a partner?
Yeah.
What made you choose Godel?
So at the time, with some of the challenges around software development, we absolutely needed full stack developers, front end development. We had inherited a relationship on a tech stack that wasn't our core tech stack offering. So we needed a way of augmenting some of the support and some of the services that we could offer our partners. So when we started speaking to Godel and Chris at the time, we identified that you had the necessary development resources, the ADCs, testing resources that we needed in our business to effectively take some of the projects we were working on at an accelerated rate, and also ensure that we could take some of those inherited projects in-house and continue working and supporting them. So we were able to do both of them. So job well done, I guess, from that perspective.
I think something that we're always aware of at Godel is making sure that the nearshore team members feel really integrated into the partner's business. I think that's something that we've done really well in our partnership. And I think that we've done a good job of making sure that we have travel and we have that kind of informal communication with team members. What do you think's worked well in the partnership?
Oh, loads of things that work well in this partnership.
Thank you.
Obviously, it's you, Sally.
Of course.
So, first of all, I guess we have made a real conscious effort to have an augmented solution to the relationship. By augmented, we mean not having one individual Godel squad, but using idle squads, and we've got 8 of them now, with a scattering of Godel developers, ADCs, occasionally testers, what other resource we need to deliver some of the projects. So that's been point number one. We originally looked to try and deploy Godel colleagues in at least squads of 2 or 2 Godel peoples per squad. And more recently, we've had conversations around actually culturally the breadth and depth of the relationship. We actually don't need to do that anymore. So we've been able to deploy a Godel person into our squads and feel comfortable that they're not going to be alone, by themselves, feeling stranded, isolated. So that's really encouraging. What we've also then done is we've gone over to Poland to see you guys, seen how you operate, meet with people face to face. And we've also had, I think, 3 occasions now in those 3.5 years where we've had Godel developers and the team, maybe 4, over to Penrith, again, to have that face-to-face relationship. Everyone is on Teams these days. That's just a way of life, unfortunately. But I'm old school. I still believe that you need to have a good bit of face-to-face relationship. You really develop and deepen those relationships individually across the team. You understand who you're dealing with, and it just helps have, I guess, more direct conversations and easier conversations. And I think if you put all that into practice, we measure and monitor the health of the squads. We get lots of feedback. You guys give us lots of feedback about the health of the partnership. Generally, it's Caesar Green, which is great. And the feedback we get from your staff, they feel part of the furniture, which is a nice term, not a bad term. They really thoroughly enjoy getting the Cumbrian dialect from various people in the team. And they generally feel like they're part of the idol, and we certainly view them as part of the idol. So we don't really differentiate a Godel colleague to an idol colleague.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell, and I think it helps that all of the Godel team members do have a voice within the idol. So I think you really listen to their feedback, you value their feedback and their experience working with other partners. So I think that really helps to make sure that they're integrated, even though they are a couple of hours away. How do you cultivate innovation internally and also with the Godel team? I guess it ties into what we're talking about of giving people a voice.
Yeah. We approach innovation in lots of different ways. From a technology perspective, we've recently created a function called Labs. So that looks after our technological innovation within the idol. So giving some of our colleagues the freedom to explore new tech, new ways of working, and ultimately understand if it's going to work or fail. What we try and do though as a business is have innovation throughout everyone. So we give people the ability to do some self-development. We give them the ability to challenge how we do things. So innovation doesn't need to be a big bang. It can be simply a change to a process, try and make something a bit more efficient. It could be introducing a new feature, a new proposition, new ways of working. So we really try and encourage that across everyone within the idol. And if everyone's got an idea or a view, we really encourage them to kind of bring that out. This is probably evidenced really well within some of the aforementioned visits. So we've done a number of hackathons. We've always involved Godel colleagues in all those hackathons because we understand the experience that they could bring from previous deployments with Godel, with different companies, maybe in different markets, different ways of doing things, different ways of working. So that approach, along with the Godel culture, along with Godel ways of working, we'd be foolish not to learn and listen to what works in other areas. And those hackathon events, really, from our perspective, epitomise the whole idea of innovation. So we get together for a few days and look at problem statements at particular areas of our market or our partners or just internally, and come up with a variety of solutions.
We actually have a hackathon this week.
We have got a hackathon with some Godel.
Coming over, so
they've been with us for
really
3 months, I think.
Yeah, and they're already coming over to the UK, so exciting for them. So how do you transform technology in a highly regulated industry?
Fantastic question. So we've got decades of experience in the space. We understand the markets really well. We understand the problems that people are trying to resolve. We understand the approach that we need to take in a regulated space, particularly in financial services that are very heavily regulated by the FCA. And I guess it's the approach you take to building a proposition. If you understand the common areas from a compliance perspective that you need to look out for, you build that into your proposition in the kind of the foundations. and that gives you a really solid platform to move from. So in terms of how we approach tech, it's all about the decades of experience, the building of solutions which are fit for purpose, and once they're built, we then find that we're able to deal with changes to regulation that come in from the regulator, and understanding what the partners need in order to be compliant.
And are there any key technology trends you're seeing at the moment that are impacting the business?
There's definitely two trends that we are seeing. We've talked obviously about AI. Interesting, I went to a Godel talk earlier on this month. Is it artificial intelligence or is it assisted intelligence? I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that today, but we certainly see it in its infancy. We think that the next 5 years are going to be really exciting times, I guess, for AI. There's lots of use cases, very much around efficiency gains, and very much around propositional enhancements. But we are finding that there's a lot of talk, and it's how much of that is in practice being utilised. So we're certainly watching the space with bated breath, understanding what's happening, and it's moving at such a pace that what we talk about tomorrow might be redundant in a month's time because it's moving that fast. So AI, absolutely something that we are focused on, and then machine learning. Machine learning in a regulated space, doing something with lots of data. We see lots of use cases around machine learning in the dynamic pricing space, and customizable space where you're gathering lots of information on a customer and you're really customizing either a quote or a proposition or a product specific to their needs. And we think machine learning's already being deployed in that guise, but we think they're the two areas that are quite exciting right now.
It is exciting, and as you say, it's moving fast, but it feels like everyone's learning together, which is quite a exciting place to be, see what the future holds. What drives change at the Idol?
So that's a really good question. Change, in our view, what can stimulate change in the first instance, I guess, it's internally or externally driven. Internally from our staff, and we very much empower our staff at all levels of the business to come up with change. If they think change is needed, think change is a good idea, we want to understand, we want to hear about it. So it's not something that is traditionally done at the higher level management. We want to see change across the board. We've got lots of experience in the business, and as such, we've introduced lots of change over the years into annuities, into life assurance, into travel insurance, pet insurance, how we transact payments. It's all introduced change and innovation within the Idol. So internally, externally can drive the change, spark the change. But in terms of what actually drives the change, is people. And our people need to be listening to partners, need to be listening to our strategic providers, like yourself, need to be listening to the regulator, need to have an understanding of what's going on in the market. So listening all the time to understand what change is required and how we are going to be able to address it, if indeed we want to address it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're in an industry where you need to be ahead of the curve and comfortable with change, because regulations can change and you have to adapt to that. So
absolutely,
definitely need to be comfortable with that. And what role do you think AI and machine learning will play in the future?
Yeah, so for us, it's still early days. We certainly see AI playing a huge role right now, at least in code efficiency and testing efficiency gains. So we're already using AI to improve some of the quality of our coding and improve how we go around testing the quality of the coding. And again, for those partners and staff that are listening to this, from a Godel perspective, we attended one of your AI events earlier on this year, and we heard from some of your other business partners that were using AI in methods that we hadn't necessarily thought about ourselves. So that was the creation of tickets on Jira, and stories and epics on Jira that could certainly help support business analysts and product owners in terms of their day jobs. So I think AI can be used in a lot of different varieties. It's understanding what the business is trying to achieve from it, what the problem is they're trying to solve, and it's not replacing people, but it's trying to make processes more effective and efficient, and maybe trying to take some of the mundaneness out of some of the tasks that people do day in, day out, so that they can then become more effective, efficient, and enjoy their job.
What do you think is in the future for the Idol and Godel?
So, really interesting. For me, I see it generally as BAU, business as usual. We have tripled the number of Godel resources since we started. So we started with a bare minimum. We didn't know culturally how we would fit together. We had a perceived language barrier to overcome. And there was a few teething problems way back when. Yeah. Now we've got a really good understanding of ways of working. So you understand how we work, we understand how you work, so that when you introduce new Godel colleagues to us, it's very seamless. It'd be remiss of me not to talk about the cultural workshops. They always go down really well, and certainly your colleagues have absolutely put Godel in a fantastic light in terms of how they deliver those workshops. So for me, BAU, I think we can continue growing. I think we continue looking at different tech stacks, different opportunities, and where appropriate, we expand into those areas. You know, recently we had a meeting with one of your colleagues around AI, something that's relatively new for us. So understanding from a strategic perspective, what's working for you, where our direction of travel is there anything we can do jointly or collaboratively to take that forward?
Yeah, that's great. And as you say, I think when we talk about BAE, we've really just found that way of working within the partnership where it's not Godel and the Idol, it's just the partnership. So I think that's really nice to hear.
Totally agree.
So how would you sum up Godel in 3 words?
I've got to look at my notes. So, I've got my 3 words, and I went to my IT director and asked him what he thought his 3 words would be, just to see if there was any overlap. A lot of similarity. So his 3 words were effective, flexible, and engaged. My 3 words were professional, partnership, and integrated.
Amazing.
So quite similar.
Yeah.
In what we're both kind of coming from. So yeah.
Great. We've got 6 words. So that's
6
great.
words out of 3. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, Craig. We really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work together in the future.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate the time.